Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this Thursday, the 3rd of March, 2022. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you guys here. Now, here's the thing. Do you remember back in 2008, there was a big banking crisis, and the Federal Reserve bailed out the banks. And what a bailout is they basically give the banks the money that they need to cover the non-performing loans or the assets that they can't make good for within the banking system. Basically, they clear them, or they purchase. Sometimes they'll purchase an awful lot of their defunct assets, like mortgage-backed securities and things like that. And the mortgage-backed securities are basically, they take a group of houses that are non-performing loans, they repackage them together, and then they give them a rating. And so the Federal Reserve's just buying it. It was all crap. They're buying the crap, basically. And they bailed the banks out. But now we're heading into another crisis. This time around, I don't think the Federal Reserve is going to bail the banks out. And why we're heading into a crisis is because our real economy, not the fake economy that they have on paper, but the real economy, the real general economy, had malaise ever since the COVID crisis began, and it's getting worse. What we have is a fake economy, and the banking systems now have extended an awful lot of credit out during this period of low interest rates. They've made loans out on a massive scale, and as the economy turns downwards because of these wars and things going on, these banks are going to have a tremendous amount of non-performing loans on their books. So you might ask, well, what does that mean to me? Prepare yourself and your family. Now's the time to do it. And I'll tell you what you're preparing for. In Cyprus, a few years ago, I think it was about 10 years ago anyway, I could look it up, but it was a little while ago, they did a test bed of something called a bail-in. And it's different than a bailout. And since that time till now, they have put legislation in that changes how a person is viewed by the banks when you give them your money. And the legislation used to be, years ago, that you were a depositor with the bank. That's how that the bank owed you that money back. But now under this new legislation, you are considered an unsecured depositor. Unsecured is the big part of the word here. And basically, if you don't know what that means in legal terms, it means that they've put in the legislation where they can do what's called a bail-in, and they can quite literally take any percentage of your money that they want to take. They can just chop it. And this is called a haircut. They're giving you a haircut. This is what it's called. It's a nicey term that they've made for this. Basically what it means, if you got $10,000 in the bank, the next morning you might have $6,000. And there's nothing you can do about it. Well, they could take it all if they wanted to. Nothing you can do about it. Because that money that you gave to the bank, it belongs to the bank now. You guys to consider this. And it goes by the old adage. One of the old words is out there that possession is 9 points of the law. What that means is if you got something in your hand, that's 9 points of the law. That's the old saying. But also, what do you got that's really real? I mean, people out there, they think their bank account's real. Oh, look, I got $100,000 in the bank. Look, these numbers here on this computer screen says I got $100,000. Yeah, that's right. But what is that $100,000? You see, the banks are running on something called a fractional reserve system. And when I was younger, that fraction was 1/10. So if a bank had, say, $10 million, it meant that they have to keep $1 million back as security, called fractional reserves. In other words, it's banks' reserves. What they've done is they have messed around with the system now, and they've made it so they don't even have to keep any. I think they got it right down to where they don't have to keep any. So what is that money you got in the bank? It's just a bunch of digits on the screen. It's as real as the money that your kids play on these video games. And not only that, it's just a floating ledger. That's all it is. And now the banks have the legislation in that they can dip their fingers into that pie and take as much as they want of that floating ledger. And you can't do nothing about it. We got a financial crisis in the making right now. It is growing and brewing rapidly. The people in Russia are already feeling the pinch. But it hasn't extended fully out to the West yet. This worldwide financial crisis. At the same time, you get product prices going up tremendously, especially on food, what your money can purchase. Now, I'm going to talk about something very clearly, and I want you guys to listen to what I got to say. Silver is a real commodity. It exists in the real world. You can hold it in your hand. It costs money to produce silver. It's very labor intensive, and that labor, an awful lot of it, comes in the form of diesel fuel, which you know prices have been going higher by the day. If they don't pay the miners enough to mine the silver, in other words, if the spot price is too low on silver, the miners will just stop mining if there's no profit ratio. So here's the point, is that cost to produce silver has been going up. As near as I figure, right now it's around $20 US, just to get it out of the ground and get it into that form of a coin. That's it. Getting $25 for silver, so it leaves a very small profit margin of about $5. That's by my calc. It might be worse than that, but that's what I'm figuring it is. They cannot drop that price of silver too much, or they won't have a profit ratio for the miners anymore. And because silver has no counterparty risk, see, the money you have in the bank has counterparty risk. The counterparty is the bank. You can just go in some morning and they say, sorry, Mr. Jones, but we've just taken half of the money out of your account. We did a haircut last night. And you say, what's that? A haircut. They say, well, yeah, we've given you a haircut. Our bank was going to go into receivership, so we did a bail-in. Sorry. Or you might go to the bank or try to use your ATM and it doesn't function like it's doing right now for the people in Russia. So they got no money. Then you got no money, or you might have to stand in a line all day, and when you get to the end of the line, the ATM machine's empty. Okay? Wouldn't you rather have a silver coin in your hand that belongs to you and nobody can take it away from you? The bank just can't say, well, sorry, we're closed today, because you got that coin in your hand. Now, don't you think that a lot of other people out there are going to start to figure this out too? Very soon, you're not going to be able to buy any more of these coins, these silver coins. They're going to disappear because there's very little downside risk because of the mining production costs are so high. Downside risk meaning price dropping on what you're purchasing. And mostly there's a very high upside potential, meaning it's almost unlimited to how high it can go priced in dollars. Okay? So I want you guys to think about what I've said a little bit, because it's very important to your finances. It's important that you start to take control over your finances and be your own central bank, or be your own bank right now, more important than ever. And the people in Russia, if you want to go on there and look at what they're having to go through right now, through the banking system right now, it'll suddenly dawn on you that that bank runs can happen in the United States of America and in the United Kingdom and here in Canada overnight. Because the world is in turmoil now. This is not the world that we grew up in, that we went for years and years. We had a peaceful, nice world and everything. These politicians all around the world have screwed up big time. And we're the ones who are going to get hit with the enormous costs of their screw-ups. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.